The first sound that broke the stillness of dawn was a soft gasp. The maid woke up drenched in sweat, her chest rising and falling fast. The dream wouldn't leave her, the same image repeating in her head. Her boss, the billionaire, slumped over a table surrounded by men in suits. A teacup lay on its side, dark liquid dripping down its edge like spilled blood. She pressed trembling palms together and whispered a shaky prayer, her dark eyes reflecting both fear and faith. Her name was Amara, a slender young woman with deep brown skin, tired but kind eyes, and hair braided neatly in rows. She had worked for Chief Damien Okoro for 2 years, a man both feared and respected across Lagos for his power, wealth, and influence. Amara sat up on her narrow bed, staring at the flickering ceiling fan above her. Her small Bible rested under her pillow, the cover worn from years of prayers. She flipped it open to her favorite passage and murmured under her breath, "No weapon formed against him shall prosper." When dawn broke, she moved like a shadow through the mansion, sweeping, polishing, preparing breakfast. Chief Damien was expected at an international conference that morning, and everything had to be perfect. The dining table gleamed, the pap steamed softly, slices of fruit shimmered in glass bowls. The mansion soon came alive with quiet movement, drivers polishing the SUV convoy, security guards in black suits adjusting their earpieces, and Madame Sylvia's sharp heels echoing from the staircase. Madame Sylvia was elegance wrapped in danger. Her light brown skin glowed under the chandelier. Her slim, sculpted face was framed by straight black hair, her red lips glinting with confidence. She glanced briefly at Amara, her perfume filling the air, expensive, intoxicating, and cold. Chief Damien appeared moments later, tall, broad-shouldered, dark-skinned, dressed in an ash-colored agbada that made him look both royal and untouchable. His face was calm, yet powerful, the kind of man who could silence a room without speaking. He smiled gently at Amara. "Good morning, my daughter," he said. "Good morning, sir," she whispered, lowering her gaze. But her heart pounded hard. The dream burned at the edge of her thoughts, louder than reason. As Chief prepared to leave for his meeting, Amara clutched the small pendant on her neck, a gift from her late mother, and whispered again, "God, don't let it happen." Amara stood quietly at the corner of the grand hallway, her hands clasped nervously in front of her apron. The golden clock on the wall ticked steadily, each second dragging her heart closer to panic. Chief Damien's convoy waited outside, 3 black SUVs gleaming under the morning sun, drivers already in position. Inside, the air was tense but professional. Madame Sylvia stood by the stairway scrolling through her phone, her manicured fingers glittering with gold rings. Her voice was calm when she spoke, but her eyes hid something sharp. Chief Damien adjusted the sleeves of his agbada as he checked the mirror. His deep brown skin caught the soft light filtering through the tall windows. Every movement spoke of discipline and power, a man used to being obeyed. "Tell the driver I'll be out in 5 minutes, he said. Amara swallowed hard. The dream still haunted her mind, the teacup, the fall, the lifeless stillness. She stepped forward timidly. "Sir, please," she said softly, her voice shaking. Sylvia turned sharply. "What is it now? Can't you see he's getting ready?" Amara kept her eyes on the floor. "Madam, please forgive me. But I had a dream, a very bad one. Please, sir, don't go to that meeting today." The entire room went still. Chief Damien froze mid-step, his expression unreadable. For a moment, the only sound was the quiet hum of the air conditioner. Then slowly he turned toward her. "A dream?" he asked, half smiling. "My dear, you worry too much." Sylvia let out a sharp laugh. "Damien, you hear her? A housemaid trying to stop a Billionaire contract because of a dream." Amara's hands trembled. "Please, Ma, I'm sorry. But I saw danger, poison. You shouldn't go today." Sylvia's face hardened. "Enough. Do your work and leave business to people who understand it." Chief Damien lifted a hand gently. "It's okay, Sylvia." He walked closer to Amara, his tone kind but firm. "I appreciate your concern. You've always been loyal and I'll never take that for granted. But I can't cancel this meeting. Too many lives depend on it." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Then at least don't eat or drink anything there, sir. Please." Sylvia rolled her eyes, snatching her designer purse from the table. "Damien, let's go before she starts praying over your tea." Chief Damien smiled faintly, touched Amara's shoulder and said, "You have a good heart. Pray for me, eh?" He walked out through the large double doors, his entourage following. The roar of the convoy engines echoed through the mansion courtyard before fading into the distance. Amara stood frozen. Her heart refused to calm. The fear sat in her chest like a heavy stone. Then as Sylvia was about to leave, her phone rang. She frowned, stepped aside and answered. Her voice dropped low, too low. Yes, it's done. He's on his way. Make sure everything goes as planned, she whispered. Amara's head snapped up. She caught the tone, the words, the tension. Sylvia's eyes met hers, cold, warning, dangerous. Get back to work, Sylvia said sharply, pocketing her phone. But Amara's mind was already racing. Something terrible was about to happen. And if she didn't act fast, the dream she saw might come true before sunset. She ran toward the servants' quarters, grabbed her small purse and whispered, God guide me. Then, without a second thought, she dashed out of the gate, chasing after the convoy that carried her boss toward danger. The city roared with noise and motion, horns blaring, engines rumbling, pedestrians rushing. Amara ran barefoot down the dusty side of the expressway, her small purse slapping against her hip. Sweat rolled down her face, but she didn't stop. Her only thought was clear. I must reach him before it's too late. Chief Damien's convoy was already deep into Victoria Island traffic. The 3 black SUVs glided through the busy streets, escorted by 2 motorcycles clearing the way. Inside the middle car, Damien leaned back in his seat, phone to his ear, discussing figures and deals that could change entire industries. His calm voice hid no fear, only purpose. In another part of the city, Amara flagged down an old taxi. Please sir, help me, I must reach the Grand Orchid Hotel before noon. The driver, a stocky middle-aged man with gray stubble and dark, tired eyes, frowned. Madam, that's far. Heavy traffic there now. She gripped his arm desperately. Please. I'll pay when I get there. It's a matter of life and death. He studied her for a second, dusty uniform, fear in her eyes, and sighed. Okay. Get in. The old car rattled to life, weaving through traffic. Amara held her breath as they moved, the Lagos skyline glinting ahead. Every billboard, every honk, every police checkpoint felt like a reminder that she might be too late. Inside the hotel's grand ballroom, a conference was in full swing. Dozens of executives sat at long polished tables under glittering chandeliers. Waiters in white gloves moved quietly between them, setting down glasses of champagne and plates of hors d'oeuvres. The air smelled of perfume and money. Chief Damien sat at the head table beside a few international partners, all smiles. His agbada, now replaced with a dark Italian suit, gave him an aura of calm power. He glanced at his watch, unaware that his every move was being watched, not by reporters or investors, but by 2 men standing near the bar, whispering quietly. Sylvia arrived moments later, stepping out of her sleek white SUV in a flowing gold gown. Cameras flashed. The media thought she was just the supportive wife. But under her calm smile, her heart pounded fast. She knew what was coming. Back on the road, Amara's driver cursed as they hit a gridlock. Ah, this traffic no get pity, he groaned. Please sir, Amara begged. Go through the side street, any way you can. The driver swerved, ignoring the horns and insults. The taxi bounced over potholes, dust rising as Amara clutched her seat and whispered frantic prayers. God, don't let him die, not like this. Inside the ballroom, waiters began serving wine. Sylvia's eyes darted toward a tall man in a gray suit, one of the conspirators. He nodded subtly. Everything was set. The glass that would go to Damien's hand had already been tampered with. She looked away, guilt flickering for just a moment. Damien lifted his glass when the toast began. To progress, partnership, and purpose, he said proudly, raising it high. Wait. A loud, breathless voice echoed from the doorway. All eyes turned. Cameras flashed. Gasps filled the air. Amara stood there, her uniform torn, hair messy, dust covering her feet. She had run all the way through the hotel gates, past security, shouting the only word she could find. Don't drink it, sir. Please. The hall froze. Damien blinked, shocked. Amara? Security guards rushed forward, but she raised her hands desperately. Please? Someone wants to kill you. Don't drink that wine. The audience murmured in confusion. Sylvia's hand tightened around her purse. Her face paled then hardened. Security? Take that girl out. 2 guards grabbed Amara's arms, but she kicked free, stumbling toward the table. Check it. Please just check the glass, she cried. One of the guests, an older white-haired man, frowned and picked up a tester strip from his briefcase. Let's see, he muttered. He dipped it into the wine. Seconds later, the strip turned dark purple. Poison, he said quietly. The room erupted into chaos. Damien's glass fell, shattering. Sylvia froze in disbelief. The two men by the bar tried to slip away, but guards tackled them. Reporters shouted questions as cameras rolled. Amara stood trembling in the middle of the hall, her face streaked with tears. Damien's bodyguards surrounded him instantly, pulling him back from the table. He stared at her, shock and gratitude written all over his face. Sylvia's mask cracked. Her voice trembled. "Damien, I didn't know." But her words faltered as one of the captured men shouted, "She planned it. She paid us." The crowd gasped again. Damien's jaw clenched, his calm finally gone. Sylvia tried to run, but guards caught her by the arm. Cameras flashed, capturing every moment as the once glamorous wife screamed, "It's a lie. She's lying." Amara stood frozen, trembling as the chaos unfolded. Her dream, the nightmare she tried to stop, had just been proven real. And in that instant, everyone knew, the poor maid who was mocked had just saved a billionaire's life. Silence swallowed the Grand Orchid Hotel after the chaos. The media vans had left, the guests had scattered, and the once luxurious ballroom now looked like a battlefield of broken glasses, spilled wine and shattered reputations. Outside, rain began to fall lightly, tapping against the marble steps as police sirens wailed in the distance. Inside, the billionaire stood still, silent, motionless, his eyes fixed on the space where Sylvia had been moments ago, dragged away by officers. He was a man who had faced boardroom wars, corporate betrayals, and international politics, but this cut deeper than anything he had ever known. He turned slowly toward the young maid, still standing by the corner, her uniform stained with dust and tears. She looked terrified, unsure whether to speak or run. "Why?" he asked quietly, voice trembling but heavy with meaning. Amara swallowed hard. "Sir, I saw them. I heard their plan this morning while cleaning the boardroom. I didn't know who to tell. I begged you not to go." His chest tightened. The memory of her begging him that morning flashed back, her shaking hands, her fearful eyes. He had thought she was being superstitious or emotional. Now he saw it was courage disguised as fear. He took a step closer. "You risked your life for me." She shook her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I couldn't let an innocent man die. You were kind to me once, sir. You gave me this job when nobody else would." He said nothing for a moment, only studying her face, the exhaustion, the purity of her eyes, the tremor in her voice. Then slowly he nodded. "You saved my life today." Outside, lightning cracked across the sky. The sound echoed through the tall glass windows, filling the silence between them. The next morning, news spread like wildfire across Nigeria. Maid saves billionaire from poison plot. Wife arrested in attempted murder case. Poor worker exposes corporate conspiracy. Headlines flashed on every major channel. In the office, employees whispered, reporters camped outside, and the billionaire's PR team went into full crisis mode. But while the world gossiped, something deeper was happening behind the scenes. In his private residence, the billionaire sat by the wide glass window watching the rain. He had built a world of steel, money, and reputation, yet it was almost destroyed by people closest to him. And the person who saved him was the one society ignored. His old friend, Chief Onyekachi, walked in. "You look like a man who hasn't slept in days," he said. The billionaire smiled faintly. "Maybe I haven't. I thought I had everything under control. But I was blind, Kachi. I let pride choose my friends." Chief Onyekachi sighed. "Sometimes God hides your angels in the dust." He nodded, looking at the newspaper again. Amara's photograph was on the front page. Her picture showed a young woman standing shyly beside police officers, her eyes downcast but brave. Later that day, Amara sat alone in her small room behind the servants' quarters. Her phone buzzed nonstop. Messages, calls, reporters begging for interviews. But she ignored them all. She wasn't used to this kind of attention. Her mind replayed everything that happened. The shouting, the arrest, the billionaire's stare when he realized the truth. She whispered a small prayer, her voice breaking. "God, thank you for saving him. I don't need anything else." A knock came at the door. "Come in," she said softly. The door opened, and there he was. Dressed simply in a plain white shirt and black trousers, the billionaire entered quietly. He carried an envelope in one hand and a calm, almost humble expression on his face. Amara jumped to her feet. "Sir, I didn't expect." He raised a hand gently. "Sit, please." She hesitated, then sat back down, her heart pounding. He walked to the small table and set the envelope before her. "This is for you." She frowned, confused. "Sir, I don't." "Open it." She did and froze. Inside were documents and a check with more zeros than she had ever seen in her life. Her lips parted. "Sir, this is too much. I can't take this." He smiled faintly. "It's not payment. It's gratitude. You saved not just my life but my soul. That company, I built it with the wrong people. Now I'm rebuilding it the right way. And I want you to be part of that." Her eyes widened. "Part of it?" "Yes. From today you're promoted. You'll head the new foundation I'm creating, for women like you. Brave, honest, overlooked. It's time to change the story." Tears filled her eyes. She covered her mouth, unable to speak. He stood, looking at her with quiet pride. "You believed in good when everyone else turned away. You're the reason I'm still standing." For the first time, Amara smiled through her tears. Outside, the storm had cleared. The first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds, lighting up the compound with a warm, golden glow. Birds chirped and the smell of wet earth filled the air. The billionaire turned toward the window. "You know," he said softly, "sometimes God sends miracles through the people we least expect." Amara nodded slowly. "And sometimes, sir, he humbles the mighty to remind them of grace." The billionaire smiled. "You're wiser than most people I know." The camera would fade here, the two of them standing in the soft morning light, one grateful, the other humbled, a picture of redemption and gratitude. The following evening, the billionaire's mansion was filled with tension thick enough to slice through. The once bustling household was silent. Even the guards stood uncertain at the gate. Inside, the air conditioning hummed faintly but no one spoke. Amara stood in the living room holding a brown envelope close to her chest. Her face was pale but steady. Across from her, the billionaire sat in a high-backed leather chair, eyes dark with confusion and guilt. Around them were his senior staff, the same executives who had almost ruined everything. The company's head of security, a tall man in black, stepped forward and dropped a file on the table. "Sir," he said quietly, "we've confirmed everything. The explosion at the conference wasn't an accident. It was planned by someone inside." The billionaire's brows furrowed. "Who?" Amara took a slow step forward. "Sir," she said softly, "I tried to warn you that day." He looked up at her, regret flickering in his eyes. The security man opened the file. Inside were pictures, messages, and documents, proof that two of the top executives had been working with an international competitor to eliminate him and take over his contracts. Gasps filled the room. The billionaire's face went pale. His fingers tightened around the edge of the chair. "All these years, I trusted them," he whispered. Amara looked down. "Sometimes the people closest to us wear the best masks," she said. Silence lingered. The two corrupt executives tried to speak, but the guards were already at the door waiting for orders. The billionaire raised his hand. "Take them away," he said, voice low and steady. As they were let out, one of them shouted, "You'll regret this. She's the reason all this happened." The billionaire turned sharply. "No," he said. "She's the reason I'm still alive." The entire room fell quiet again. Amara lowered her gaze, tears glistening in her eyes. The billionaire stood up, walked over to her and for the first time bowed his head slightly. "I owe you more than I can ever repay," he said. "I was blind, not just by pride but by fear. You saw what I couldn't." Amara shook her head gently. "You don't owe me anything, sir. I just did what anyone with a conscience would do." He smiled faintly. "You give people too much credit, Amara. The world doesn't always do what's right." She smiled softly. "Then maybe that's why people like us are here, to remind it." A faint breeze blew through the half-open window, swaying the golden curtains. The heavy silence gave way to a calm that hadn't been felt in that house for years. For the first time, the billionaire saw clearly, not through the lens of wealth or power but through humanity. Later that night, he walked out onto the mansion's balcony. The city lights of Lagos glittered below him, and he could still see flashes of the chaos that might have been. He took a deep breath, then looked back toward the house. Through the glass door, he saw Amara helping one of the housemaids clean up the mess on the floor, her simple gown slightly stained, her hair falling over her face. He smiled faintly. The billionaire who once ruled empires now found peace in the humility of a woman who had nothing, yet gave everything. And from that moment he made a vow. The next sunrise would not find him the same man. He would rebuild, not with money but with truth. The morning came softly, golden rays spilling through the large windows of the billionaire's mansion. The once cold halls that used to echo with commands and footsteps now carried laughter, gentle conversation, and warmth. The air was no longer heavy with pride, but filled with gratitude. The billionaire stood before a crowd gathered in his company's courtyard. Employees, journalists, and partners filled the space, their eyes fixed on him. He was no longer the man who barked orders and measured worth by wealth. His once arrogant posture was replaced by calm strength. His dark suit gleamed under the sunlight, and a faint smile rested on his face. Beside him stood Amara, the maid everyone had once ignored. Her simple blue gown danced lightly in the breeze, her dark brown skin radiant, her braids tied neatly behind her. She looked confident, humble, and at peace. The billionaire adjusted the microphone before him. His deep voice carried across the courtyard. "I used to think success was measured by how much power a man could command," he began slowly. "But I was wrong. True success is measured by how much good a man can do when he has that power." The audience fell silent. Even the wind seemed to pause. He looked toward Amara. "This young woman saved not only my life but this entire company. When everyone else doubted, she believed. When I ignored her warnings, she never stopped caring. Her courage gave us all another chance." A round of applause broke out. Some employees wiped their eyes. Amara lowered her gaze, tears glistening, her heart overwhelmed. "From this day forward," the billionaire continued, "Amara will head the new Employee Welfare Foundation, a trust that ensures no worker in this company ever suffers in silence again. Her story will remain a reminder that greatness doesn't always wear suits or carry titles. Sometimes it wears humility." The clapping grew louder, echoing through the courtyard. Amara stepped forward hesitantly. Her voice trembled but carried strength. "I never wanted recognition," she said softly. "I only wanted to do what was right. But I've learned that doing the right thing often comes with pain and peace." The billionaire nodded, smiling. "And you've earned both," he said quietly. As he handed her a golden plaque engraved with her name, camera flashes filled the air. The once poor maid who had begged him not to attend a meeting was now celebrated before the world, a living lesson of grace and courage. The company choir began to sing softly in the background. The billionaire stepped down from the stage, walked toward Amara, and bowed slightly, not as a gesture of apology but of respect. The crowd erupted in cheers again. As the music swelled, Amara turned toward the sky, her heart swelling with gratitude. She remembered that night she stood in fear, trying to warn her boss. Now she stood victorious, proof that doing good even when it hurts always brings light in the end. The billionaire joined her gaze, looking upward as well, his voice almost a whisper. "Sometimes, God hides the greatest miracles inside the people we overlook." Moral lesson: never underestimate the voice of the humble. The truth you ignore today may be the same truth that saves you tomorrow. Pride blinds the heart, but humility opens the door to redemption.